This uncle walking around naked
East side, best side, or west side, best side.
collected the keys to my resale condo last week. Discovered there's a serious termite infestation. Welcome back to another property Q&A.
Where we answer your questions.
I'm Sophia,
And I'm Lauren.
and let's dive into it. Alright, so the first question for today. Not sure if this is considered illegal or not, but my husband and I have been seeing our opposite neighbor,
What?
this uncle, walking around naked in his living room. We stay at the top floor, but our unit faces his directly. We have young kids, so we're a bit concerned.
Oh no!
Just wondering if this is allowed and not sure what we can do about it. Oh my goodness, imagine that you walk out.
It's a little bit traumatizing already.
Yeah, I'm just
Naked.
thinking, I walk out to my balcony, my coffee in the morning, I try to hear the birds and bees, and then there's my view.
And you know, I am actually staying on the top floor as well, and I have 3 kids. I completely cannot imagine if one day they'll come to me and mommy, look.
I think I will be a bit traumatized as a kid.
Okay.
So what can you actually do in this situation? Okay, so of course, the first course of action with anything like this is always to try and reach out to your neighbors, because sometimes they're not really thinking about it, so they might not know. However, this one I would say maybe the conversation might be a bit awkward.
Yeah, how to tell them, please, uncle, please wear clothes at home.
So actually what I might do is maybe write a little letter and then drop in their mailbox first and see if they actually change their course of action. But do you know that in Singapore, do you know if it's actually illegal to be naked, like in your own home?
Illegal?
Yeah.
I thought it's legal.
Okay, so you can actually be naked in your own home, but if someone can actually see you, like the public eye can see you,
like this uncle.
yeah, they can call the police on you, you know. But of course, you don't want to get it to that point. There are many things you can do before that.
Yes, but then again, what if the uncle genuinely does not know that he could be seen by others?
That's why you must let him know first, right? That's why I'm thinking you can write a letter. But if you write him a letter, right, no response, you send him a cake, say please wear some clothes, he still don't respond, that can be your worst case option, I would think. But as with everything, you always want to try and mediate like peacefully.
Yes.
Most people are usually pretty okay. But a bit traumatizing for the kids, the family.
Sure. I just hope that after doing something about it, this uncle will not be walking around.
Maybe he's just a nice man that he doesn't know.
Yeah.
So just be careful. Also, when you're choosing what is the facing of your home, if you are someone that is like that, okay? Now, moving on to our next question.
Hey guys, I recently just had my first baby and also started a new job. So honestly, life is super hectic right now. Me and my husband are thinking of moving back with our parents for a while just to get some help. But problem is, our current HDB is still under MOP and we know we are not supposed to rent it out. Is there any way around this? It really helped us financially.
I mean, I really feel for this question because I think a lot of people are always frustrated by this ruling, which is you can't actually rent out your whole HDB unit if it hasn't reached MOP.
Yes.
Because sometimes a life circumstance can change or financially you just need it. But restriction-wise, it doesn't allow you. So what can you actually do if you're trying to, you know, maybe get a bit out of this financially while moving back to your parents? So the thing that you are allowed to do before your MOP end is to rent out some of the rooms as long as you are still staying there. So it can't be totally rent out the whole units, but at least 1 or 2 rooms that might help you out a bit. Now in other cases, let's say you have a very, very valid reason. For example, you're moving with your parents, you really need help with your kids, your parents might be sick. You can try and write into HDB to appeal. Of course, this is a case-by-case basis usually. So there's no black and white into which case you'll allow and not.
Correct.
But it's worth a shot if you really, really need this. But I think always a lot of people like to ask why they don't allow.
Yeah, so it's important for us to understand why HDB is actually implementing this minimum occupation period, MOP, because ultimately HDBs, they just want to ensure HDB flats are used for their intended purposes, meaning provide a stable, affordable housing for owner-occupiers to buy for own stay and not for speculators or investors to come into the HDB to buy and rent out? Because to be honest, the yield for HDB can be pretty high, the rental yield.
Yeah, imagine they didn't actually have this control, right? HDB is basically one of the most affordable things you can buy when it comes to quantum.
Exactly.
And for your rental, it will actually be a great investment for purely rental if they allow. But of course, that goes against the purpose of what a HDB is actually for.
It defeats the purpose to provide affordable housing, because by doing that, they will take up the supply of HDB for investment purposes.
So then less people have homes to stay, and then again you have this supply problem, and then
They drive up the prices.
go up.
Okay, the next question.
I just collected the keys to my resale condo last week. Congrats. And when I brought in my contractors, we discovered there's a serious termite infestation. Nothing was mentioned by the previous owners during viewing, and it wasn't obvious at all. Is there any legal recourse or way to seek compensation for this? Oh, this really reminds me of the Avenue South residence one. Do you remember?
Yeah, it's quite a big thing, you know. A lot of units are affected.
Yeah, so it came out in the news that this condo, basically, when the owners had just taken over, there was a lot of units that had termite infestation.
Correct.
But I think the difference between that one and in this case, a resale condo is it was still a new development. They just collected keys, which usually means it's still under warranty by the developer. So they will actually take care of the situation. Oh, but in this case, it's quite poor thing though, because this is resale condo, which means it's basically his problem to take care already.
Exactly. So, I mean, in Singapore context, I don't think termite infestation is that rampant compared to other countries. If you're buying a resale, definitely you are buying again as is where is, right? So, of course, you have to do your own due diligence when you are before you even offer for these units. And on top of this ASR, there's actually another article. I'm not sure if you've seen about that. This local influencer, or rather an actor, bought over a resale condo on the ground floor.
Okay.
Yeah, and when he took over, right, same thing. He realized there's termite infestation, and he actually spent about 100,000 to do an overhaul after taking over the unit, to ensure that, you know, it can be quite traumatizing if you really see how bad it is in your own home that you have just bought over. So yeah, he spent about 100,000 on that. But of course, the difference between a new launch like ASR and a resale is that for ASR, as long as you find this issue within the first year, you can claim it against the developer. Whereas if you were to buy a resale, you definitely have to do something about it at your own cost.
So back to what Lauren just said. So I think the question here is whether they can seek for compensation. So in most of the time when you purchase a condo, in the contract it will state you're buying as is, where is, like she mentioned, which means that regardless the condition when you take over, you are now the owner, so you're actually the one that needs to sort it out.
Unless you ask the owner at that point in time about this. If there really is, they can't lie to you. Yeah, they have to tell you upfront, yes.
So if they did lie to you, then you have a case to put about. So usually if you're going for a resale condo, if you're okay to gut, like I remember there was this HDB unit, so the sellers there, they were very open. They actually just said, okay, there's termite infestation, so they were actually willing to let it go at a bit of a lower price. And the buyer was very okay, because they already planned to redo the whole reno. So sometimes it's okay to be upfront. But when you're caught off guard like that, it's a bit hard sometimes. Like if you're going for older developments in resale condo, then you need to be mentally prepared that things like this, not even termite infestation, it could be anything, may pop out along the way, which is why some people prefer going for a bit newer or newly renoed in a way.
I agree with that.
Yeah, but I seen the picture, right? Those termite infestation is super disgusting one. Like there's a lot like the remaining body and they will gather together.
Okay.
Oh, when I Google the picture, I can't.
In
this case, likely you will have to take care of it on your own. But if you are buying a home, ask the owner, or if you are someone that is very, very detailed, you can actually bring in your own inspector to check these things.
Actually, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
bring your own inspector before you even go for the purchase, especially for the older condos.
Correct, but most people actually don't do this. But if you are willing to go all the way, this is something you can do.
Moving on to our last question here. Okay, honest question. East side, best side, or west side, best side?
I know you have a lot of opinions on this.
My opinion would be a little bit biased because, as you know, I have grown up in the east side all my life before I met my husband. What about yourself?
Okay, for me, I also grew up for quite a big part of my childhood. I was in the East, so I have a little bit of a bias.
Yeah.
But I think we are a perfect example of how which side you think is the best. Actually depends a lot about
Your lifestyle.
your experience. Like, have you grown up there, or my favorite food is down there?
East Coast Lagoon.
Yeah, but when you think about East Side, usually you think about
Beaches, East Coast Park. And I can think of Katong, whereby you have a vibrant stretch of shops with brunch area, cafes. But when I think of the west side, it's more of like educational hubs.
schools.
And NUS. And along the further down to the Jurong area would be more of like the industrial area. Yeah.
Okay, but don't take our word for it. Let's actually pull out the data. So what I actually did was look into whether the east side or the west side is more profitable.
Okay.
Of course, when we talk about the east side, we're not just talking about like places like Marine Parade or like you mentioned Clementi for west side. So
It's the whole of the east side.
yes, if we pull together the entire east side districts and the entire west side districts, I'll plot the graph over here. Actually, in the past 10 years,
Wow.
west side has done better than the east side.
Okay, I guess it is fair because we are pulling out east versus the west as a whole. But if you were to dive deeper into the east side, we do know that there are some areas that are actually performing better, right?
Yeah, for sure. So if you're talking about the east, so example, of course you have your Pasir Ris, you have Paya Lebar area, Geylang area, even Marine Parade area. But out of all this, they have different areas that are performing better. So definitely Marine Parade, a lot of people like to live there for own stay, right?
D15.
So, yes, D15. So the capital appreciation is good there. But if you go to the west, you also have places like Jurong, Clementi, even the Hillview area.
Right.
Definitely Clementi on its own stands out for the rental because of the universities, etc. So even within each area, there are certain districts that do better for certain things. And even honestly, I want to say, right, if we go even deeper into, let's say even Marine Parade, even though it's known for having good capital appreciation, there are definitely condos that can I say do worse than others.
Because there are a lot of older condos there.
Correct. So
Yeah.
where is technically good or where is bad, it really is hard to say a blanket statement.
Yes.
So, but of course, if it's for your own stay, you can focus on areas that you really like. But in terms of what is a good development or not, I won't say blanket statement, east side, west side is better. It's really much more complicated than that.
It really boils down to which area and what development you are looking at, and then we have to pull out the individual charts to do a check again to see if it's better or not.
And that's all for today's questions.
Thank you so much for all your questions. Please keep them coming.
Yes, if you have any other questions, you're welcome to submit them on our social media. And other than that, we'll catch you in the next video. Bye.
Bye.